Yes, yes, yes. And just like that, we are back with another episode of Sutton Reactions. I am your host, Sutton Def. Excuse me. The voice is cracking up this morning, guys. I'm a little bit under the weather. So hopefully you guys can bear with me on this one, on this episode of Sudden Reactions. Again, the show where I react to any and everything that you guys send to me. Also, things that I just kind of find interesting on my feeds and timelines and things like that. I'd like to react live with you guys in a live setting as well. So if you're part of the live chat, shout out to you. Make sure you sound off in the live chat. And if you're part of the hashtag replay gang on this one, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you might be listening. Go ahead and make sure you leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel as well. And again, thank you for being here. We appreciate that. Okay. A couple things I want to get into. On this episode of the show. King Blaze in the chat. What's going on? Good morning. Top of the morning to you, brother. Let's start with this. Prod, what's going on? One of our members here. Let's start with this. The elephant in the room, right? The Baltimore Ravens are right back in the mix of it. Now, listen, I know I said I wasn't going to talk too much Ravens football, too much NFL on this show. However, now is the time for the Ravens to push everything, all of their demons from the season aside, lock in, beat the Steelers, and get into the dance. The Browns beating the Steelers yesterday, I think personally, and this might be me as a delusional Ravens fan, but I don't care. The Browns beating the Steelers yesterday should have been a wake-up call for the rest of the AFC. It should have been a wake-up call for the Houston Texans, for the Denver Broncos, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, most importantly, for the Buffalo Bills. I could totally see this Ravens team taking care of business against the Steelers, who seem to be reeling. By the way, I mean, no DK Metcalf, probably no TJ Watt. They said it's a long shot, a very long shot for him to play this week. And no Darnell Washington. He broke his arm yesterday. Speedy recovery, but I mean, kind of perfect timing on that one. Not going to lie. I hate to say it, but go ahead and just rest that arm up, big Mountain Washington. Go ahead and rest that arm up. Get better. They don't need you. And I feel like the Steelers team, like the body language that they have, even with like Aaron Rodgers, like he feels like he has no weapons. Aaron Rodgers feels like he has no weapons, right? And I think for that reason, he's looking frustrated out there. He's getting rid of the ball incredibly early. Of course, he does not want to be hit, especially in those cold weather games. I get that. It was sloppy yesterday in Cleveland too. But look, man, this Steelers offense does not look good. The defense, I mean, divisional game, you expect it to be a low scoring one anyway. But I think with Baltimore coming to town and them having the momentum that they have right now in the run game, it could be very, very spooky for the Steelers. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, the Ravens do beat the Steelers, right? And of course, I'll talk about this more at length with Alex later on in the show. But let's say we do beat the Steelers. I think there's a 69% chance that the Ravens will be welcoming the Houston Texans to Baltimore for the wild card game, which I understand the Texans defense is like that. I understand that, Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. and those boys over there on that front seven, they gets after it. They've been doing it all year long. I get that. However, I do also think that, and I'm going to get to Lamar in a second here. I do also think that this Texans team has never really been able to beat a full strength Ravens team. As you guys remember, walloped us earlier this year. And I think they were getting their get back for Christmas Day last year, which we're going to get into those NFL Christmas Day games too. Interesting stuff. But I think Lamar Jackson is their kryptonite. And speaking of Lamar Jackson, he's had a week of rest. So whatever leg ailments have gotten an extra week of rest, right? The back that he's dealing with, I mean, it was a contusion. Someone saying like a bruise, like it was just really bad, really painful. I would love to get an update on that. If he doesn't go this week and Tyler Huntley has to play, I'm gonna say it right here, right now. I think that's okay. I think that's fine. I honestly think that the Steelers might have a little bit harder of a time game planning for Tyler Huntley than they do Lamar Jackson. Dare I say that, right? But I truly do believe that only because of the way that this Steelers team likes to play Lamar Jackson when they do, the way that they game plan against him, it kind of wouldn't work. That same defensive strategy, it wouldn't work against a Tyler Huntley, who is going to get the ball out very quickly, who isn't going to try to extend every play as long as he can and try to get the ball downfield. I don't think Tyler Huntley completed a pass of over 10 plus yards against the Green Bay Packers. He finished with like 107 yards passing or something like that. It was all quick game, right? And I don't think that the Steelers are necessarily ready for the combination of a decisive, healthy quarterback. I put emphasis on healthy and also decisive because, I mean, Tyler Huntley looks like he's, again, since he's healthy, when he wants to take off, he just takes off. Is he as electric as Lamar? No. But he's healthy and he's more decisive than Lamar right now. And I think that that could bode well for the Ravens offense against the Steelers. But that will give Lamar Jackson another week of rest. That will give him another week of rest going into the playoffs. If they can stick with the run game and really punish the Steelers like that, and you don't have to play Lamar Jackson, I'm just saying, guys. I'm just saying. I know some of you think out there, like, what, no, Sutton, why would we not start Lamar? Lamar's got to play. Sure. Sure. But the question is, again, how healthy is he right now? How healthy is he right now? And I know we're going to get whole lot of news this week and, speculation. Oh, is Lamar at practice? Is he not at practice? Maybe he speaks to the media. Maybe Harbaugh gives us a little update to the media. Who knows? By the way, John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin are coaching for their jobs this Sunday. Sunday night game too. I mean, that's to me kind of crazy how, we have a Sunday night game for our division. Meanwhile, they couldn't they could have just flexed, who was it? The Seahawks and 49ers who play next week for the literal 1 seed of the NFC. I feel like that could have been a more interesting matchup to watch in prime time. I just, and again, it gives Lamar Jackson all the time possible to be ready to go for that game. I'm sure he'll probably end up being like a game time decision or something like that. But I'm tired of the primetime games. Okay, put me back in the early window, right? I don't want to wait all day for the game. It seems like we've been doing this the past almost month now, it feels like. Good morning, y'all in the chat. What's going on? Shout out to y'all for coming through. I see Ashley, one of our members in here. What's going on, Ashley? Again, Prod, another member. Coach, Sip to Tally Films in the house says good morning, top of the morning to you, Coach. RJ, my guy RJ Ori in the house. What up, RJ? Top of the morning to you. Top of the morning. Who else we got? We got Tila M. What's going on, Tila? Good morning. Good morning. Appreciate you for coming through. Again, this is Sutton Reactions, guys. Make sure you leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. I see my guy Taurus in the chat. I see Zico Kage in the chat. Yeah, shout out to you guys. Void, another one of our members. What's up? What's up? Brandon Tillman. What's going on? Top of the morning. Let me see. Void says, don't mess with an injured back or an injured neck. If Lamar needs to sit him. I agree. I agree. I mean, and I think it was Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco yesterday were having like a heated debate on whether or not the Ravens should start Huntley or Lamar, and it really got me thinking. And I can't wait to talk to Alex about this later to see what he thinks, because he said last week if the Browns win and the Ravens beat the Packers, then he's fully back on board. He's going to be delusional again, just like me. So if you want to see the Delulu twins talk about this later tonight, make sure you tune in at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, because I'm sure it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. But anyways, yeah, this is a huge game coming up. Huge game coming up. Man, I can only imagine what the nerves are going to be like going into that game. I can only imagine the week that we are going to have on this YouTube channel and all the YouTube Ravens content creator land in the streets. You know what I mean? Everybody's going to have a lot of content this week. So you guys are really in for a treat. And again, we appreciate you guys' support. Let me see. Coach says I'm Delulu too. Yeah, I think we all are. I think we all are. Yeah, again, guys, bear with me. A little under the weather. If I sneeze or something like that and I don't mute myself, I'm sorry. Just a little under the weather today. But okay. So again, we'll talk more about the Ravens later on the Purple Rain podcast again with me and Alex. But I want to move into what we came to talk about here on Sutton Reactions. Here you guys can see the title of the video. Got a couple of things I want to share with you guys, as we normally do. Speaking of Christmas football, right? A lot of people gave the NFL pushback, right? There was some backlash that the NFL faced for, I guess, kind of looking like bullies, right? The NBA forever, for decades, owned Christmas Day. Everybody knew, on the two big holidays, Thanksgiving Day was for football. Okay, non-debatable, non-negotiable. And Christmas Day was for NBA games. All the biggest marquee matchups. I remember even just as of a decade ago, it was huge when you had LeBron versus KD or Steph versus LeBron or Celtics versus who, you know what I mean? Like those type of matchups on Christmas Day just felt special, you know? And I think a part of why the NBA kind of has to concede here to the NFL is because of the NBA just doesn't have the same like cachet of like star players, right? That really want to get people to tune in on Christmas Day, especially if there's another option to watch football, right? So part of it is the NBA's fault for their lack of ability to develop stars that we want to see, especially on a holiday when the entire family's around. 2 to 3 people at your house that they're going to be telling you to turn that game on. We don't really get those type of matchups anymore in the NBA. And so that's where the NFL kind of saw that and they said, well, what if we just started putting our product on Christmas Day, just like the NBA? Just tell them to move right on over. And oh yeah, by the way, we'll put it on Netflix, right? We'll do it. We'll partner with the streaming companies and we'll do it that way. And of course, the NFL ratings are a lot higher than the NBA. But you know what? I have this video for you guys. This is actually Kendrick Perkins, and I believe Richard Jefferson talking about Christmas Day football and how they feel about it. Of course, these are former NBA players, so they didn't really take too kindly to it. But let's take a listen to what they had to say.
All right, last one. Tripping or not, NFL football on Christmas.
Tripping.
Straight tripping.
Hey, football people, I hate to break it to you, but I love flag football and I love the encouragement of that in other countries, but no other country watches football. The Super Bowl is like, cool, what's going on here in America? As the second biggest sport in the world, people all around the world watch our sport. So like you guys keep Thanksgiving and the food. We'll take Thanksgiving. We'll take Christmas. We know that's not going to happen. They're going to try and come into Christmas. That's just what the deal is. That's why they had Beyonce.
Christmas, got to calm it down.
Yeah, but we know they're going to try. We know they're going to have to try and come in Christmas.
Thank you,
Allie.
Yeah. See, they tried to be petty. They tried to be petty, and do you see the slate of games they have? That shit is ugly. Because y'all should have minded y'all business and left Christmas Day to the NBA.
And you should.
Now y'all got to.
And you're talking about, look how, to Perk's point, look how late it is in their season, where so many guys are banged up, so many guys are bruised up. So it's late in their season, and so they're not able to put out their best product out there. So you're like, if you're going to have the entire world watching, you want to be able to put your best product out there. And if you're doing that at the latter third of your season, it's not the best product.
Microphone was muted. My bad. My bad, guys. Again, sorry. Need me a producer. So, and sometimes I lock in without looking at the screen. I try to focus on the camera. Again, guys, it's early. Give me some grace. Give me some grace, guys. This is why I need a co-host or something like that. But again, I wanted to mention this. Cowboys, Commanders, Lions, Vikings, Broncos, Chiefs were all games that were ran on Christmas Day, right? In theory, all three of those games were supposed to be bangers. All three of them. Cowboys, Commanders, it's age-old rivalry. Jaden Daniels, I'm sure the NFL was expecting him to take the next step, and they were going to be contenders all over again. Didn't pan out that way. Cowboys were already eliminated by the time this game started. So it was kind of like a toilet bowl. It didn't really mean anything. No stakes. Lions, Vikings. I mean, you're talking about a Lions team who looked like they were going to be on a revenge tour at the beginning of the season. Everybody thought that they were going to be good. Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, the Sonic and Knuckles back there, and they were looking good. Amon-Ra St. Brown, they were looking good until they just kind of fell off the face of the earth. They fell off the face of the earth, right? So that one was supposed to be a banger as well. I think the league expected, J.J. McCarthy to really perform well and step up. And then you got Broncos and Chiefs. Now, you can't tell me that before the season, that didn't look like a juicy-ass matchup, right? Nobody would have expected the Kansas City Chiefs to be already eliminated from playoff contention and also have Patrick Mahomes be injured and out for the year with a torn ACL. And everybody also expected, the Broncos to take another step forward. Bo Nix and the Broncos, Sean Payton, which they have, right? I think they lead the AFC right now. So all three of those matchups were supposed to be bangers, but Richard Jefferson makes a point. Richard Jefferson makes a point saying that, in a sport where at this time of year, most guys are banged up, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to force these matchups on us when you know that there's a chance that all of them could be toilet bowls just because of the injuries. And all that really does is people are going to probably just turn on NFL football, even if they don't really care about the matchup because, the starting quarterback for the Chiefs isn't playing, or the Cowboys are already eliminated from playoff contention and the Commanders are already eliminated, and, the Vikings are already eliminated and the Lions are on the brink of elimination. Now they are. Everybody would probably just turn on football anyway on Christmas Day just to have football in the background. I know a lot of people do that. And Richard Jefferson is arguing here that that takes away from the NBA, right? Because even if there are some good NBA games on, which there were, by the way, I didn't watch any. I didn't watch any NFL football. No football at all. No football at all on Christmas Day. I watched nothing but basketball. Nothing but basketball. In Prod, I did say producer. I did see producer. So, yeah, I mean, obviously not like a music producer. I think you produce music, but podcast producing. Hey man, if that be something that you would want to get into, help out with, hell, hit me up, DM me, let me know. But yeah. So I get the point there, and I would prefer, and this is as somebody who actually went to a Christmas Day game last year, and Houston Ravens won. It was great, awesome Christmas. But I think it's also the nostalgia of again, like I mentioned before, the classic marquee matchups in the NBA that you would get on Christmas Day. I miss that. I miss the commercials leading up to Christmas Day. The NBA commercials. You guys remember the Jingle Bells one where they're all shooting the threes into the nets and it's making the Jingle Bells chime. I loved that. I loved that whole era. Right. It feels like the NBA on Christmas Day kind of took a step back after that. And that's when the NFL said, okay, we see an opportunity here, so we're going to take a step in. It's business. It's business. You can say oh, it's not fair. The NFL is trying to bully the NBA, but the NFL is just trying to increase its bottom line at the end of the day. They're just trying to increase their bottom line. Best commercial says Zeke. Exactly. You know ball, man. You know ball. Void says I was more interested in Stranger Things than football on Christmas. You know, I don't watch Stranger Things, at least not anymore. I fell off of it after the first 2 seasons. I just couldn't really get into it anymore. You know, like it felt like a little bit repetitive. It felt like the original premise of the story kind of lost its original allure in the first season. After the first season, I know they haven't come out with the season finale yet, but I did hear about the last episode. I think it was episode 7, where I guess everything is kind of tying itself up to kind of wrap up the story for the finale, and the main character Will comes out as gay, and a lot of people had a problem with that, or an issue with that, or maybe not so much an issue like him being gay. It was just more so like, this doesn't really advance the story, sort of thing. And again, I haven't watched, so I would love to get you guys' opinions on this if you did watch. But for me, I just, I don't know. I couldn't really get into it after season 2. Couldn't really get into it after season 2. The nostalgia and everything was cool, but then the nostalgic effect kind of wore off on me, and the story just kind of felt repetitive. It seems a little compelling this season. With the whole Vecna character, looks like a savage. Very ominous character, villain. Love to see that. The kids, of course, are like grown now. The fact that they threw the Will Byers gay thing in there, a lot of people said that they already knew for a long time that that's where, that eventually he would come out. And I guess that's also like one of those cultural moments as well. It happens in a lot of movies, TV shows nowadays. Hmm. Some people like it, some people don't. I don't really care. I don't really care because I don't watch the show. Not surprised Will was gay. I agree. Not used it used to be my shit, but stop watching for sure, for sure. See? I mean, Void agrees. Not missing much from season 3 on. Story doesn't feel the same, and season 5 is mid. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. IRH said I never watched, so can't comment. That's fair. That's fair. Let me see. Void says it felt insignificant given the stakes at hand. That and there is so much yapping in the season. Characters talking too much and saying nothing. Yeah. I was thinking about starting that show, Landman. I think one of you guys in the chat might have recommended me that before, but I was thinking about giving that a try. Let me know if you've seen Landman. I believe it's on Paramount Plus, which I now have because half the football games are on there, right? Same thing with Peacock. Jesus Christ, man. Welcome to Derry. Yeah, I heard about that too. It's just like, the super scary stuff, I don't, you know. I might watch the Welcome to Derry one, but I'm not really into the super scary stuff. At least not the shows. At least not the shows. If it's gonna be a scary whatever, just be a movie so I can get in, get out. You know what I mean, and just be done with it. Everything's resolved by the time I'm done viewing. I don't want a cliffhanger that I'm thinking about overnight going into next week and whatnot. When it comes to scary stuff, just give me a movie. Just give me a movie. Maybe I'm wrong though. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Let's move along. Let us move along here. All right. So speaking of basketball, right? I got to bring up my guy Gilbert Arenas again. My guy Gilbert Arenas, who it seems I kind of frequently bring him up because he has some pretty good takes. But here he's talking about AAU basketball and the effects that it has on the NBA and just the sport of basketball in general. I think it's a fascinating conversation to have, and it honestly explains a lot of the things that I talk about frequently about the NBA, how it's kind of lost its edginess, right? And all you see, I mean, you still see talented players, but you don't see compelling players anymore because nobody has any edge. And here's Gilbert Arenas breaking that down.
How do you feel about AAU sports, like travel sports and all of that? So Leo does a lot of travel sports. He plays baseball. He doesn't play basketball, but a lot of the times I reflect, especially with baseball, because it's so expensive. I wonder how parents with several kids are able to do this. Like, how do you feel? Do you feel like it's gotten out of control? Because sometimes I'm like, wait, it's $3,000 to go to Cooperstown? You know, like it's expensive. So what are your thoughts on that? Like
you got to be papered up. Like this ain't for the ghetto no more. This ain't get it out of mud kids anymore. Like AAU is a business.
Sorry, I did it again. This is what I'm talking about. It's a rich people sport. No edginess. Keep going.
And you need money if you want your kid to be in the best position. And it's just, it's unfair because it's not affordable, because it's not like we're playing these big games once a month. No, it's every weekend now, right? So you're talking about fees to get in, then parking every single day. So you're paying parking on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's not like, you get a free pass and then you got to pay to get into the event. Then these little niggas they play at 10, then they got a game at 5. So now they want to eat now. Like, you know what I mean? So you're spending, $400 or $500 on a weekend. Mm-hmm. And the average,
which is crazy, guys. Is that not insane? Is that not insane that you have parents out here who are literally paying an arm and a leg just for their kids to play basketball? The expenses that go into having a kid that plays AAU, and I don't have one, so I wouldn't know like in its totality. But the way Gilbert is breaking it down here, it sounds like a hell of a lot.
The average parent can't pay for this. So what ends up happening is, if your child is trying to get to that next level, then you're forced to do it because it's the only way. You're playing at all these elite games and tournaments. Then you have to get a trainer to do training in the off days, right? So depending on what your genes are, and this is where, as parents, look at your genetics and see if you really have a shot. Right? If you two are 5'5" and your son talking about to be in NBA, let it go. Right? You don't need to invest as much money into this career that's not going to happen, because that is not a thing. Now, if you're the father's 6'5" and you all of, as a woman, 5'9" to 6'1", the child's now is your investment, because the genetics is going to say he's going to be at a certain site with your genes and his genes. You're going to have a very athletic child.
So yeah, he's basically saying here, if your child doesn't already have the genes, right, to play basketball, and you say, I don't think height matters, Taurus. I mean, I think it matters a lot. It matters a lot in basketball, right? You know how many super talented basketball players just didn't make it because they were too short? I think height definitely matters. Height definitely matters. And he's basically saying here, like, if you and your spouse or the person you made this child with, if y'all ain't already at a certain size, like certain height, like naturally, then your child's probably not going to get to a height where he can be effective and actually get to the next level. I think that's what he's saying here. And before you invest all that money, hundreds of dollars a week to be on some of these travel teams, right? Before you invest all that money, maybe think about it. Maybe you can get your kid into a sport that's less sexy. I mean, it's all about what they want to do at the end of the day, right? But maybe let's start pushing some of these kids toward, I don't know, like tennis or baseball a little bit more. I mean, again, a little less sexy, pays just as well, if not more. You know what I mean? And it's a little bit less competitive. But spending all this money on these travel teams and things like that, I just don't think is very smart, especially if you don't know for sure that your kid is going to be like a physical specimen or just special, flat out special.
A child and a very tall child. So now investing in
golf is another one, Tila. I love that.
In him is actually important. It ain't 401k plan. Is now you're putting your money into your child.
Yeah.
because the return on that investment now is showing that these kids now is coming into the NBA. Top draft pick in the NBA now is $55 million. For the 4 years, my draft class, it was 13 for the number 1 pick. Big difference now.
Yeah.
So the second round, Bronny James, they're making more than the number 2 and 3 pick from my draft.
Yeah.
Right. So the money is turned around so fast. So you're forced to really engage in it. But if you don't want to play in the tournaments, spend the money on a trainer and just do it that way. Forget all the traveling fee, especially at a certain age. It's not about playing in the games. It's more about techniques, right? Form, getting hits and understanding.
Which is interesting what he's saying here. He's saying like, okay, instead of, and Torres is giving out some anomalies in the chat here. I mean, Spud Webb, Chris Paul, Isaiah Thomas, we can go on and on, but the fact of the matter is they are the exception to the rule. It's not the majority. But no, what Gilbert is saying here is that, instead of investing all that money into being on these travel teams, instead just pay for a personal trainer, get their technique and their skills right. And then maybe when they go to like high school, and of course they can join their local high school team, that's when they can really display what they have. But Gilbert also tells us the problem with that in this video. So let's keep listening.
And then all the elements of it and getting a actual trainer that can train you all day, every day. Like some of the kids, especially in basketball, they're homeschooled. So they're homeschooling from elementary to middle school so they can just train all day. And then high school is when, they're going to actual school.
Yeah.
So they can, they can work on their craft, which is an advantage.
Yeah. I started looking into that a little bit like a couple of weeks ago because I was like, I wonder if I should.
But even then, and before he gets to that next problem, he's talking about like, oh yeah, homeschool, get a personal trainer. And then when they get to high school, then you can, put them in the public school and they could start to, whatever, playing the games. But this all leads to having softer players at the end of the day. Kids who are homeschooled, not to say that all kids who are homeschooled are soft, but like homeschooled, your life is literally just wake up, eat breakfast, walk downstairs, learn about some stuff, then you go outside, you train for hours, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Like minimal social interaction. You might hop on the game, things like that, whatever. But minimal social interaction, things that I feel like kids need, right? And they need some of that raw experience, some of that unsheltered life experience in order to get them that sort of like edge and like that competitive fire that you really need. Because I think a lot of these kids just look at basketball at a certain point. They might grow up like, when they're really young, like, oh yeah, I want to play basketball, I want to play basketball. But I think at a certain point when you're literally like, you have a live-in trainer with you who homeschools you and then you go train basketball for hours. That doesn't really do any good for you socially, right? I mean, it just turns basketball into like a 9 to 5. And I feel like a lot of kids feel that way when they're in their teens, right? So, of course, by the time they get into college and NBA, they're kind of just nonchalant. Like, yeah, I've always been talented. I've always played basketball. Like it's just natural to them. Let's keep going, though.
I should homeschool him in high school. And so he can focus on his training, which he would love to do homeschooling because he complains about school every day. But yeah, it is expensive. And it makes me feel bad. Like I feel bad for the kids that live in the inner cities and there's so much talent out there and they just don't have the same opportunity. So I always think about Leo. I'm always like, if he plays professional baseball, I would love for him to have a foundation for kids that want to play baseball in those cities and be able to.
There's no inner city no more.
No,
the reason, like, if you think about, like, especially in basketball, inner city basketball is the worst basketball. Because what happens is once someone spots the talent, that kid is in private school.
Yeah.
They not even playing no games with it. They like, so when you look at these private schools and that whole, you talking about Sierra Canyon, and the whole team is black. You think they lived in that neighborhood? No, they're being busted. They're, some of these kids is getting paid $200,000-$300,000 to come. Middle school, high school. So they're not inner city kids anymore. So most of the NBA, this new generation, they already technically are papered up. They're privileged.
They're all privileged. They're privileged. They're papered up by the time they're like 18, right? Especially with NIL and all this stuff nowadays. This is why none of them have any edge. This is why none of them look like they have any competitive fire. This is why matchups are no longer compelling in the NBA. This is why the NFL is trying to take over on Christmas Day, because they're looking at what's happening to the NBA in real time. It's becoming much more of a privileged sport. It's becoming much more of an internationally recognized sport. And it always has been. But now the NBA, their best players are all international. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, all of these guys. All these guys. Nikola Jokic, the list goes on, right? Alperen Şengün now, who's part of my Rockets. I love me some Alperen Şengün. But you guys get my point. This game is starting to get a lot more international and a lot more privileged. So the kids that you have from America who are going to come up and get into the league, right? There are these kids that Gil is talking about here. Spoon-fed kids where even if they did grow up, if they were born into an inner city, at some point, some scout is going to come to their high school game or whatever, spot that talent, and get them out of the hood. And subsequently, I guess what Gil is saying here, they're taking the hood out of the boy by putting him into this privileged lifestyle. All right, now you're in a prep school. You're in an academy now. You're in a private school, right? You got NIL offers on the table now. Like, forget all about the stuff you got going on back home. We going to get you to this life. It's man, it's just different. It's just different. It's just different, man. Let's finish up.
Privileged kids, right? So they don't have they don't fall in the same lust category as, someone who is in inner city and they are falling for the big jewelry and all these. These kids done touched money, 200, 300,000 in high school, million in college. By the time they get to the NBA, I don't want nothing. Right? I'm just play video games. Give me a nice little video game setup, and I'll play video games all day. That's this generation.
Mm-hmm. You see how many hoopers are just like streaming now? A lot of them will stream. They hop on the game, and that's what they do. You know what I'm saying? Not to say there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I was a big gamer myself coming up, but you guys kind of get the point here. Like where the sport is going is away from being as competitive as it used to be.
Yeah.
Right, the jewelry. You remember? We had the big Gotti, got our initials big, sitting down here like we Wu-Tang.
So yeah, you guys get the point there. You guys get the point. It's pretty sad, and I don't really know how you would fix it. I think the lady here in this interview, she said that, maybe if somebody will start like a foundation or something like that for inner city kids who want to play basketball or whatever, they have the means to do it. They're like supplied the means to do it. However, again, I still don't think that solves the problem of, again, once these greedy scouts want you to, once they figure out that you're talented and you play in the hood, they can go talk to your mama and say, hey, look, we can get them into this school over here. We can actually move y'all out of this hood because this NIL deal or whatever that this kid is going to get out of high school because he's so good, so talented, it's worth a couple $100,000. You can move over here, take him out of that life, and we'll homeschool him, we'll private school him, whatever. That's all that's going to happen. That's all that's been happening. That's all that's going to continue to happen in the NBA. And again, it's a big reason why I struggle to really get hyped for any sort of NBA content anymore. It's tough. It's tough for me. Like, unless you are loyal to the soil with like a home team, like, and you have like a really big cult, kind of a fandom of a team, like a lot of NBA fans do, a lot of NFL fans do. But unless you have that, like, there's just not really anything that drives you to a television set to watch basketball nowadays. You know, they're gone are the days of LeBron James. You know, I mean, LeBron is, of course, on the last leg of his career, literally the last leg. I don't know if this year will be the last, but maybe next year or something like that. I don't know. But he's just not the same player anymore. You know, Steph Curry, that era, you know, KD is in Houston now. It's just not the same. It's just not the same. All three of those guys are still playing, but it's just not the same now because they're not the best players anymore, quite simply put. And the best players now don't give us the same sort of fire that we got from those other guys so long ago. That's all. That's all. Let me see. The grind isn't there anymore. I agree. For sure. For sure, Prod. Let me see. Torres says, all that's fluff. Don't guarantee an NBA career. LOL, I went to school with Jameer Nelson. Little bro, and he hooped since we were kids. He was the star in high school and went nowhere. Yeah, not everybody makes it either. Not everybody makes it. That's true. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to bring that to you guys' attention. And King Lil says, what would fix the NBA? I think what Prod says here, the NBA is looking for the new American face of the league. And that's why I think Anthony Edwards is so important. That's what's going to fix the NBA. More players like Anthony Edwards. More unapologetic, in-your-face dogs, right? Now, what I do think is that the NBA's got to find a way to get Anthony Edwards out of Minnesota. Got to get out of Minnesota. Too small of a market. It's not going to help grow the league enough. Get this guy to I don't know, Philly, right? Or do a big trade in Boston or something like that. Get this guy to a major market so we can see more of him, right? King Lil says Ant doesn't want that. He did say that. I mean, but I know you guys saw on Christmas. Well, maybe you didn't. Maybe you were watching football, but I was watching basketball. I mean, every other commercial was like a big Christmas Sprite commercial featuring Anthony Edwards. You know, I think that it's clear that they want him to be that guy. And whether he wants to or not, I think the only thing, if he doesn't want to, the only thing protecting him from like not just being quite literally forced to being that is the fact that he plays in Minnesota. You know, you got to get him somewhere, again, where the weather's good, the lights are bright, you know, and the economy is booming. Touristy type places. Nobody goes to Minnesota. Okay? Nobody cares about Minnesota. If you're from Minnesota and you're watching this, I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. In Major League Sports, big markets matter. Big markets matter. Lakers. Stretch 52 says Ja Morant would have been the face of the league had he not had all those off-court issues. Yeah. Ja was right there. Ja was right there. I mean, you know, of course, like the gun stuff and wanting to like pretend and cosplay that lifestyle and stuff like that. That was always weird to me, you know. But he kind of took a step back too. You know, I don't think he ever really developed a shot. Can still jump out the gym. Just did it the other night. But, you know, he's kind of limited. But Anthony Edwards, this is a guy who can go out and get you 40 and play some lockdown defense on the other end and be in your face the whole time, letting you know about it. That's the type of player that the NBA needs. Because as good as Nikola Jokic is, he don't care. Nikola Jokic don't give a shit whether or not, you know, the Nuggets win titles, whether or not he wins MVPs. I mean, he just looks at this as a job, right? Straight up just job 9 to 5. And you can tell just by like how he plays the games, his expressions, things like that. He don't care. And he's probably the best player in the National Basketball Association. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's cold-blooded, right? But you still don't see that same like fire and passion in his eyes, right? He's just literally like a AI chat GPT hooper out there just getting buckets, right? And playing really well. Zion Williamson was supposed to be that too. Zion was supposed to be that. Again, couldn't stay healthy, couldn't stay focused, right? I just don't think guys want it that much anymore. And there's just so much money. There's just too much money in it to where they really have to care. Again, like Gil said, These kids are coming up already rich, from like high school. They got money. So I don't know, man. Just me. Let's go ahead and move on here, though. Let's go ahead and move right along. Again, make sure you guys like this video. Subscribe to the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel and also the Sutton Reactions YouTube channel. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Could also be a societal thing. Maybe. Maybe. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. So here's the next one. So as you guys know, Christmas just passed. And I guess it's time to get messy. It's time to get a little bit messy. Christmas just passed. And I saw a viral video of a guy watching his children unwrap their Christmas gifts. And he takes issue with them giving credit to Santa for these gifts. Let's take a listen.
Thank you, Santa. Bro, thank you, Santa. Thank you, Santa.
Man, fuck Santa. I did this shit. Fuck is you talking about?
Santa did this.
Man, Santa ain't did a motherfucking thing. Daddy did that. Fuck wrong with you?
Santa did.
Tragic. Tragic stuff. Right? Nasty stuff. You know what I mean? Let's run it again.
Thank you, Santa. Bro, thank you, Santa. Thank you, Santa.
Man, fuck Santa. I did this shit.
I'm sorry, but it's the voice crack for me. It's the voice crack for me. Because that was some pain in that voice. And we'll unpack that. We'll unpack that, but it's the voice crack.
Fuck is you talking about?
Santa did this.
Man, Santa ain't did a motherfucking thing. Daddy did that. Fuck.
See, here's my thing. I think my guy Coach in the chat hit the nose on the head already. Hit the nose right on the head. Bro was hurt as a child. You can hear the pain in this dude's voice when he says, Santa ain't did a motherfucking thing. I did this. His voice even cracked. All this really means is that I think he was robbed of the same innocence that he sees in his kids here in front of him. I feel like he maybe didn't get the opportunity to ever maybe believe in Santa and have that magic around Christmas. And I don't know nothing about this guy's situation, him and his baby moms, whatever. But obviously, to me, again, and where I stand on the whole, should you have your kids believing in Santa Claus thing? I think that you should. Not necessarily should, but I don't see a problem with it at all. Right? Because believing in Santa Claus for a kid, it's symbolism of innocence, right? You really believe, you're so young and naive that you believe a fat man riding on reindeers in a sleigh is flying through the sky overnight and visiting every single house in the world and dropping off Christmas gifts just as long as you leave out cookies by the tree or something like that, whatever tradition. I think that the ignorance, the naivete and innocence around that is for children. The magic of Christmas is for children. So taking this from them because you have all of this, I guess you could say pent up trauma. That's it's kind of selfish. It's very selfish to me. It's very selfish. Let them kids believe in Santa Claus one way or another. It's going to come around to them that Santa's not real. I mean, I went through the same thing. I grew up, when I was probably around these young boys' ages, I was believing in Santa Claus. And my parents allowed me to. And then just one day, naturally, I realized that Santa wasn't real. And I think deep down, these children know. I think deep down children know that Santa's probably not real. Right? My custodial guardian and parents, people who take care of me and look out for me every single day, make sure that I have food, clothes on my back. Right? I know kids aren't really thinking about this in presence of mind, but I think in the back of their mind, they kind of know. You know what I'm saying? They know that mom and dad probably bought these gifts. I ain't never actually talked to Santa. I wrote a list. I don't know if there's a big guy breaking in our house to drop off presents, that would kind of scare a child if they actually thought that was really real, I think. Christmas movies aside and all the dramatizations they do of that type of experience, I think kids know deep down. Deep down. And then every kid has that day where it's like it becomes clear and obvious, and it's just like the point where you don't even want to believe in Santa Claus anymore. I say just let that happen. Let kids be kids. Let kids enjoy the magic of Christmas as long as possible. Let kids enjoy their innocence as long as possible. Because once it's gone, it's gone. It's gone forever. Forever. You know, youth is a beautiful thing. Youth is a beautiful thing. It's sad, though. It's sad. Let me see. Tori says he don't want White Santa getting all the praise over his hard-earned money. Sure. Sure. I mean, for me, again, guys, sorry, I'm under the weather here today. For me, I think that if you are in a position where, you know, these Christmas gifts are really going to break the bank financially, and you really just cannot stand to see your children get up there and give Santa Claus all the praise instead of you, then of course, like I said, number one, you need to do some work within yourself. Number two, it's okay to, like, and I've seen some people say this, like, it's okay to do the thing where you know, make the small gifts that you give the kids, you make those from Santa, but the big gifts, the big ticket items that you might get them, say that's from you or the mother or both, mom and dad. You know what I mean? I think that's a happy medium here. You don't have to just go full no Santa Claus, whatever, unless it's like maybe a religious thing or something like that. Or you just don't lean that way, sure. You know, but there's ways around it. Like, you don't have to just like completely rip the innocence out of your child, right? Because of your own insecurities. I think that's lame. I think that's lame. Let me see. Tila says, when we went to sleep, my parents would put an unwrapped gift under the tree that Santa dropped off. See? There you go. There you go. Jeremiah says, highly disagree. It's a lie. What are we talking about? The Santa being a real thing? Sure. I mean, so is the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny. You know, again, all these things are just kind of put in place for kids to be excited about holidays, right? And feel magic around those holiday times, you know? And again, let them have it, bro. Let them have it. They're kids. And again, once it's gone, you can never get it back. You can never get it back. Once life like wakes you up to what it's really all about, you never get that innocence back. So I just don't, I'm not a believer in robbing kids of their innocence at a young age, you know, whatever that may look like. Let me see. If we're being real, Santa's a creep. Yeah, I'm saying, I think that even young kids would pick up on that kind of, sort of. Like, if they really thought that a big fat man was going to break into their house for whatever reason in the middle of the night, I don't think that they would really, you know, take too kindly to that. Let me see. Tori says, LOL, you know the wild thing though, Sutton, another kid can do that to a kid, not just a parent, LOL, like an older brother or sister. This is true. This is true. I just don't think it's the job as the parent, right? Because as the parent, you're supposed to know better. You're supposed to know better, right? And you're right. You know, like a friend or like an older brother or a sister or something like that. You know, teenage years and this, I think that's where jealousy kind of comes into it. Because if you like say these kids are like 6, right, and they had like an older brother who's like 13, maybe, right? And of course, the 13-year-old doesn't believe in Santa Claus anymore. He's a teenager. He would get teased at school for still believing in Santa. So that magic is like stripped away from it. And part of that like hurts. It puts a damper on Christmas. I don't know if you guys can remember your first Christmas where, you know, I don't think I can really, but your first Christmas where you knew Santa wasn't real. You know what I mean? Like you just like, it takes a little bit of the magic out of it, you know? And I feel like as a a fellow kid, you got that magic stripped away from you, and you're just a teenager who is in, like, a very confusing state in your life. You see this little kid, whether it be your little brother, little sister, whatever, little cousin. Yeah, you're probably gonna be inclined to be like, oh, Santa Claus isn't real, right? This happened to all of us pretty much. It happened to all of us. But again, as the parents, I think it is, your responsibility to know better, not ruin that experience for your kids yourself. At least that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. And again, preserve their innocence, whatever that may look like, because you don't get it back once it's gone. Again. Let me see. I remember being in elementary school and another student telling me, if you don't believe in Santa, then you don't believe in Jesus, which is nasty work. It is. King Lee says, when I got older, when I found out Santa wasn't real, I wasn't upset. Me neither. Me neither. You kind of just naturally grow out of it, You kind of just naturally grow out of it. There's really no need to do something like this. There's just not at all. But okay. I think we covered that pretty good. Again, let the kids be kids, y'all. Please let the kids be kids. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. Okay, here we go. So last video here. Let's take this on down. And we're going to get into something a little funny to me. Something a little funny to me. There was this guy online. And I feel like this is an older video. So maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. But there was a guy online talking about how humans aren't meant to eat meat. And I'll get out of the way. Let me clear out and just let him tell you what he has to say.
You don't like eating meat, you don't like eating steak, you don't like eating chicken, you don't like eating none of that shit, bro. You like the seasoning on that shit, bro. If you take seasoning off a hamburger, you take seasoning off chicken, steak, etc. Whatever it is, whatever slice of meat, whatever fine cut of meat that you are eating, chicken, pork, steak, bro, any of that. I don't know, bro. Whatever it is that you're eating, bro, you can't eat that shit, plain. You gotta drown it in seasoning. You gotta drown it in some fucking sauce to be able to even eat it and consume it. We're not genetically made up black people, melanated people. I can't speak for any other race but the melanated people, because that's where my research and that's where my knowledge comes from. It's our, race and our genetic makeup. We're not designed to eat that, bro. We have a mouth full of flat teeth, bro. That is designed to tear into nuts, berries, fruits, and like grains and shit like that, bro. We don't have a mouthful of canine to eat fucking and tear into flesh.
All right. So I don't know this dude's name, right? But what I will say is this. This message, because what he's saying here makes some sense. Chicken, beef, pork, even veggies and whatnot. We season it down, especially as black people. I know I do. Hell, sometimes I over season. And he said you got to drown your stuff in season just to give it a good taste. You're right about that. But I'm not, at the end of the day, I'm not eating meat for flavor. I'm eating it for protein. I'm eating it for my energy levels, right? So the energy from this dead animal, I can then put into my body and utilize and use that as fuel to do things, to do physical activities. Now, what I was going to say is that this message would hit a whole lot harder. It would make a whole lot more sense if he didn't look like a beanpole himself. I mean, look at this nigga. Look at him. If this ain't the most malnourished, you feel me? Like, look like feel like if you just breathe on him the wrong way, he might topple over. I mean, his hair might be heavier than his entire body weight. His hair alone. The nigga look malnourished. I mean, he looked like what? Maybe like 125 pounds? Soaking wet? Yeah, his head is bigger than the rest of them. Coach says in the chat, hey, bro, need a sandwich. Yeah, he need a sandwich, all right. He need it. Bro. He need like a double, triple, quadruple decker. Get this man a couple Big Macs, right? Get him a spicy chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. I promise you, brother, I promise you, you will feel so much better. You will feel so much better if you just ate some real food. He's saying, oh, yeah, the human body, I mean, our teeth are meant to tear through nuts and fruits and vegetables and whatnot. My teeth tear right through steak just fine. Right through chicken, all other beef, ribs, whatever, pork. Tears through it just fine. So obviously, when it comes to like the science part of it, we've evolved, right? We have evolved, and like, you know, our teeth are meant to be able to consume these things. So I don't know what he's talking about there. Only thing that he makes sense on is that if we did not have any seasonings or spices at all, and everything was just bland, or like no sauces or anything, everything was just bland, no, it wouldn't taste as good. But at the end of the day, we'd be surviving and thriving if we still ate it. And that's all that matters. That's all that matters. You know what I mean? So it's a necessity thing. The nuts and berries got you talking crazy. Oh, man. Jeremiah says, just because you need to cook and season food does not mean it's not good for you. Put on a lab coat and do some research before spouting fake science. I don't think that this guy has he don't have the energy. He don't have the energy to do no research. Right? Like it barely looked like he got the energy to make this video. I mean, look at his shoulders, bro. Look at his shoulders. I mean, bro is built like a middle school girl, if we being real. If we being real. He built like he should be still believing in Santa. Just being honest with y'all. Looking real fragile. Torres said Trillburger in the chat. Hey, Trillburger is the truth. Trillburger is the truth. We got him out here in Houston. Love him. Shout out to Bun B. But he could definitely go for a triple OG patty for sure. Gift card to Trillburger, says Coach, for sure. Void says 130 after a trip to Golden Corral. Yeah, bro. He looking malnourished. He looking real malnourished. Void in the chat says we literally have canine teeth. What is Brody on? Using teeth as an argument like bears don't eat berries. Piranhas eat plants sometimes. Herbivores will eat meat if need be. Look at hippos. Yeah, bro. Come on, bro. This ain't it. This ain't it. This is not it at all. But let me see in the chat. I haven't had Trillburger, so I wish they came to Dallas Fort Worth. I didn't know you're in DFW. Shout out to you, Taurus, fellow Texan. But yeah, guys. So again, that is the last video that I had on this episode of Sutton Reactions. Again, before we get out of here, before we close out this episode, World Class, you're late, brother. You're late, brother. You just missed it. This malnourished kid, he only thinks you're allowed to eat fruits and nuts and fruits. He's malnourished. He doesn't eat meat. Vegan slander? I wouldn't even say that. It's not even vegan slander. It's just like it doesn't make sense, his argument here. Doesn't make sense. Anywho. Appreciate you guys for coming through. As always, this has been another great episode of Sutton Reactions. Of course, me and Alex will be live later today on the Purple Rain podcast at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, talking about our Ravens, right? Right? We back in it. We right back in it, y'all. I know a lot of y'all here from the Rain Gang. We right back in it. It's not over till it's over. It's time to be delusional. Let's go all the way. Let's get in the dance and let's make it all the way. Let's take it home. We can still do it, you know, and we'll be here to talk about that later on. Again, make sure you leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel as well if you are new here to the Purple Rain podcast. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. And don't forget, again, 6:30 p.m. You're not going to want to miss PRP tonight. Anyways, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. And I'll catch you guys in the next video tomorrow. Peace.